If you've been looking at the world of cybersecurity for a while, you'll be aware that there's so many roles, quite a fair bit of confusion. So let's simplify it. If you're trying to break into cybersecurity, you're stuck between teams or terms like SOC or SOC, IAM, GRC, red team, blue team, purple team, teal team. Okay, no, there's no teal team actually, but you know what I mean. There's so many acronyms, so much confusion. It's time to cut through the noise. In today's video, we're going to break down 6 major cybersecurity career paths, what they actually do, how they're all connected, and most importantly, how do you figure out which one might be best for you. So let's go shopping for your cyber future. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Femi, and I talk about cybersecurity careers, building skills in cybersecurity, and what you can do to improve yourself as a cybersecurity professional. I would recommend that you consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the great content we produce, and also like that video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps us to continue to produce great content for you. With that done, let's get into it. First thing first, let's look at one of the more common roles in cybersecurity, the role of a SOC analyst, which is usually the frontline defender. So think of a SOC analyst like your digital security guard. You're in the operations center, you're watching alerts, spotting anomalies, and you're responding to threats in real time. So if you like solving puzzles, you like reacting fast, you're curious about malware or phishing or threat intel, and you love working on teams, even though sometimes the hours are crazy, because SOC is never ever solo. In fact, only very rarely would you find someone solo working in the SOC. Then you'd enjoy working as a SOC analyst. It's operations center, it's alerts, it's anomalies, it's real-time stuff. Some of the tools that you work with in the SOC would make it very interesting for those who love doing it. You work with tools like Splunk, which is one of the more common SIEMs out there. So SIEMs are one of the mainstay for SOC operations. So Splunk is a good one. Microsoft Sentinel is another one. Another thing you would work with would be something like Wireshark, for example. Then they do a lot of work with EDR tools because you're always looking at what's happening on this endpoint. So it is endpoint detection and response. So they do a lot of work with EDR tools as well. So those are the kind of things you play with in your daily role as a SOC analyst. What certifications do SOC analysts hold? They tend to hold, a lot of them tend to hold Security Plus. It's a good one. CISA Plus is another good one as well. Blue Team Level 1, it's a great one. So the SOC analyst role is a great entry-level point. It connects well with paths like threat hunting, incident response. Sometimes it goes into engineering as well. So that's a great entry point into cybersecurity. Another role which you might have heard about is the GRC analyst. So, of course, GRC is governance, risk, and compliance. And they are the rule makers of cybersecurity. They're the ones who whisper the rules in our ear and say, this is what you should do, or this is why you should do it. Because as a GRC analyst, you're not fighting fires. You're not even always hand on keyboard, writing code or watching screens, watching alerts. Very rarely do they do that. You're helping to prevent the fire. So you're thinking about policies, audit prep, frameworks. How do I align security to the goals of our business so that we reduce the risk, we're compliant with industry standards, and there's governance and oversight over everything that we do? That's the work of a GRC analyst. So if you are detail-oriented, you love structure, you're good at writing and communicating, you want to work in security without deep technical skills, I'm going to put technical in air quotes, then yes, you're going to love GRC. What are the tools that GRC analysts use? Excel is still king. I use Excel every single day. Excel is still king, but of course, specific GRC tools, ServiceNow GRC, a couple of other tools. It depends on the organization you're in. Excel Purview is another one as well. Again, it depends on the environment. Generally, GRC certs are a bit more advanced, while you can get some stuff ISC2CC or even Security Plus. If you want to get into really serious GRC work, then certifications include the CISM, the CRISC, the CISA, ISO 27001 lead implementer as well. Those are certifications you can come across in that space. GRC connects well with privacy, connects really well with risk leadership, and it's a great place to start out if your end goal is to get into a role like a CISO, so an executive level role over time. Then yes, a GRC is a great place to start as a GRC analyst. Number three is, let's talk about identity and access management. So again, like the name implies, you're responsible for identity and access management, which means that you manage who has access to what, when, how, and why. And you're making sure that people aren't accidentally, or in some cases intentionally, going to go into stuff that they should not be going into. That's your role as an IAM analyst. The role is to make sure that the people who are accessing anything should actually be allowed to access that thing they're accessing, and not anything more. They shouldn't be accessing things that they shouldn't have access to in the first place. So if you love things like systems, you love process, you love logic, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, you like solving puzzles, and then behind the scenes, you enjoy things like automation, access streamlining, then you are going to do fantastically well in IAM. Some of the tools that IAM specialists use are actually specific to the IAM platforms they might use. So you find a lot of vendor-specific information in this space, Okta, Azure AD, SailPoint, Ping Identity, CyberArk, all of that kind of thing would be great tools that you would use on a daily basis if you're working as an IAM analyst. What certifications do you get into in this space? One of the more popular ones here would be the Microsoft Identity Certificates. So there's quite a few, the SC300 and then the SC900 identity-based certificates with Microsoft. Another good one would be CIAM, Certified in Identity and Access Management. And then, of course, all the providers provide certifications for their platforms as well. So Okta provides that, SailPoint provides that, Savin provides that as well, Ping Identity, Azure. So you can always get certifications around the tool or the platform you're going to work with. You work on a daily basis. And what do IAM roles lead into? So I've found IAM analysts who end up becoming things like, chief architects, architects. They go into things like zero trust, cloud security pathways as well. So it's a very, very robust field area that can actually lead you into a lot of areas within the business as well. Now let's get into some more technical, remember I did this earlier, roles. So let's start with pen testing or red teaming. So these are the legal hackers. They are legally allowed to simulate attacks on your infrastructure to find the vulnerabilities, the weak points, if you will, before the bad guys do. Because again, every system has its weaknesses. You want to be sure you find them out before the bad guys exploit those. So think of your ethical hacker, think of your penetration tester, think of those people who implement those exploits. Every time we see those Hollywood movies about people, breaking in war games, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 8, whichever the oceans you want to look at, it's always the ethical hacker or the pen tester that actually gets the glamorous role of breaking into the systems as they get into them. So that's what red teaming or offensive security is. And who are the folks who are going to like this stuff? If you love breaking stuff, of course, legally, you're comfortable with Linux, with networking, working in the command line, and lots of coding, and you have a very creative what-if mindset, then you would do great as a red team person. And what are the tools they use? Kali Linux is very popular. Metasploit, Burp Suite. There's a lot of tools. There's a ton of tools out there, especially on the Linux platform. But once you get in there, it can be overwhelming. So you've got to be sure that you really, really want to do this before you can get into it. What certifications do red teamers hold? I've seen red teamers with CEH. I've seen red teamers with OSCP, which, by the way, is, I think, the toughest exam ever in the cybersecurity space. There's EJPT as well. So there's quite a few certifications you can get. But again, you've got to get into that space to get into that. Pen testing connects very well to AppSec or application security, bug bounty hunting, threat emulation as well. And I want to preface this and say with a warning, it's usually not the best first job for anyone. It's brutal, it's grueling, it's very, very challenging. It takes time to be any good at it. It takes quite a bit of time. But if it's something you love doing, it is worth aiming for. So if this is you, kudos to you. I'm cheering you on. I want you to go out there and become the red team offensive security expert that you want to be. The next role we're going to consider, if you're counting this as role number 5, is the cloud security expert or cloud security engineer. Because today, as more and more companies move to AWS and Azure and GCP, cloud security is now crucial. It's absolutely essential. So you would like this role if you're interested in DevOps or cloud platforms, development operations. That's what DevOps is. You like infrastructure, automation, infrastructure as code, and you are obsessed, because cloud engineers are obsessed with scaling and securing systems. How can I scale? How quickly can I scale or descale? All of those things. You'd love that. So if your head is in the clouds all the time, literally, then you would love a role as a cloud security engineer. What are some of the tools that cloud security engineers use? They use tools like Terraform, AWS Azure Security Services, lots of CI/CD pipelines as well. So again, it will depend on the platform you're working with, or the tool you're working with, or the environment you're working. That would actually shape some of these tools, Kubernetes, Docker, all of that, and things that they're going to use. What certifications? Most certifications here are also tailored to the cloud platform you work with. So you find that people who do a lot of work in the AWS space are going to have AWS certs, and there's a lot of AWS security specialties out there. There's a GCP tool also has theirs as well, and then Microsoft also, the AZ500 is a Microsoft Azure platform certification. So there's a lot of those out there, but again, it will depend on the platform you're working with. There's no point going to do an Azure certificate if you spend all your time working in GCP. So that's going to color that. Cloud security ties into architecture. So it ties into architecture, ties into DevSecOps, security engineering as well. So you could actually start out in cloud security and find yourself end up as a cloud security architect, or a chief architect, or that kind of thing. And then finally, the actual people who call themselves cybersecurity engineers. This one is very technical. So this is for people who are technical builders, people who are building all this infrastructure out there. Cybersecurity engineers build, maintain, and improve the systems that secure everything else. So that's very crucial. They are almost like the bedrock, the foundation of everything that goes through your systems. So if you want to get into cybersecurity engineering, then you've got to enjoy things like writing code or writing scripts. They have a very, very analytical mind. So you're very great at problem solving and building secure environments. And most importantly, you want to stay hands-on. So hands-on cybersecurity engineers are very, very hands-on. A lot of the tools they use, very popular tool, Python. They use a lot of Python as well, lots of firewalls as well, Bash, EDRs, SIEMs, a ton of them. What certifications do they hold? So CISP, CISA Plus, GSEX, a lot of SAN certifications as well. So again, it depends on what your role is, the environment you find yourself. And as a cybersecurity engineer, you can start out there and then you can move into architecture, like I said earlier, or even leadership of the blue team, or sometimes red versus blue hybrid roles. So it's quite interesting. But again, this is beginning to get into the really, really technical stuff in cybersecurity. So are you still confused? How do you know what's right for you? Let's take it very, very simple. Let's boil it down to the barest minimum. If you like puzzles and pressure, then go work in a SOC. That's SOC analysis for you. If you like order and structure, then you think you would do great as a GRC analyst. If you like logic, access, and automation, IAM is your thing. If you love hacking and creativity, then please go to Red Team. That's all your life is going to be all about, and you'll enjoy it. If you love infrastructure and you're cloud obsessed, you sleep AWS, you sleep GCP, you sleep Azure, then go cloud security. But if you're a builder and a coder, then just do cybersecurity engineering. And remember, you don't have to pick one and that's going to be you forever. Cybersecurity is full of bridges between domains. You can start out as a builder, move into IAM, from there go into GRC, and from there go into a CISO role. So there's lots of bridges between these various domains. So start where you fit now, and as you grow, continue to evolve. So tell me in the comments down below, which of these roles are you most curious about, or confused by? Let's talk about it. Put a comment down below asking me a question. I will point you to the right resources, give you some tips, or I may just be your cyber hype man and make you, make that decision you've been thinking about. If this video helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share with a friend who you think is going to find this useful while they figure out their cyber calling. If you want next to watch, check out this video here where I talk about 4 different cybersecurity roles and what they all involve in a bit more detail. or you can check out this video here where I talk about everything about cloud security and what exactly a cloud security engineer does. And until the next time I catch you, this is Femi signing out.